We're going to go ahead and paint some parts today. Now what these parts are, you can basically see it behind me here. We got a core support, and then we got some parts that go to the core support and inner structure of the vehicle itself. Now normally what we would do is we would buy some industrial acrylic enamel, and then we'd use that to paint these pieces, but it's Sunday today and I want to get this job done, and there's another product that you can use to do the exact same thing and save a little bit of money while you're at it.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
So what we're looking at here, we're looking at a 1967 core support for a GTO. This is a 67 GTO core support. And then these are all the pieces that actually bolt to the core support, so they will all interact and fit with the inner fenders and the fender wells and everything else that goes with it. Now, if you look real close, I've had these sandblasted. These have been sandblasted, and they are now ready to have a good coat of paint put back on them. Now if you use the proper paint, you don't have to prime the pieces, you don't have to put epoxy primer on them, and if it's an industrial style paint, that's more than good enough. That will seal this up and make everything work properly. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to go ahead and use an industrial paint, but the paint that we're going to use is a paint that you can buy at your local big box hardware store. We're talking about Home Depot and Lowe's. Let's go take a look at that paint and let me show you what I'm going to use to paint what we have right here as we paint. So what you're looking at here, you're looking at a can of Rustoleum Professional High Performance Protective Enamel. Now this is a very good high quality paint. I have used this a lot throughout the restoration jobs that I do, and when I say that, I paint a lot of little intricate parts with it. Sometimes I might paint the whole floor, inside of the floor with it. I might even paint the frame with it. That's how good this paint can be for you. This paint here is designed to actually brush on, to brush it on, and it's very thick when it comes out of the can. Now this is a can of high gloss. This is a gloss black right here, and then if we look at this can right here, this is semi-gloss. So we're going to paint all the parts that we have hanging up in the paint booth with semi-gloss, but I don't want to brush paint them. I don't want to have to brush them on and you know, take all the time up, because using a brush is a good idea, but to get in all of the cracks and crevices to make sure everything seals up, we really need to spray that on. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and make sure that our paint is shooken up very, very well and mixed. And you can't spray this straight out of the can because it's just too thick. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mix it up, but what we're going to mix it with, and here's another product, we're going to go ahead and mix it with acetone. Now you can use enamel reducer if you can find it. But to be on the cheap side and cost effectiveness, it's a much better to use acetone, and you can buy that at your local big box corporation store that has put all the small places out of business. Yeah, that's right. I'm a small place. All right, I'm just a little small place here, and the big corporation has basically put me out of business in the collision world, and the corporation has taken over like everything else in the world. But are we here to bitch and complain about that? No! What we are here to do is paint some parts to get this car out of my shop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Rustoleum Professional High Performance Protected Enamel Tough Rust Preventive Finish for industrial applications only, and I'm going to make sure that it's shaked up very well. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and open that up. We're going to make sure that we stir it thoroughly, and I'm going to show you how thick that is coming out of the can. You can basically see that it's like mud almost. And then we're going to take our quart, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a 4-to-1 mix. That means 4 parts paint and 1 part acetone. Now remember, you don't want to use mineral spirits with this. You want to use acetone. You definitely don't want to use lacquer thinner. So make sure that you stay away from lacquer thinner on this. And then once we mix that up to a consistency that we want, we're ready to go ahead and spray that on to our bare metal parts without using any type of sealer or primer to it. Now, a lot of people will go ahead and put epoxy sealer on that, and it's really unnecessary. I mean, if you really think about it and you go back into history when that car was built, they didn't put sealer on the frame, they didn't put sealer on core supports, they didn't put sealer on anything, all right? They went straight into the paint booth, they painted it and got it out, all right? Down the paint line it goes. Now, as far as the body goes, yes, they did put a coat of primer on that, but they didn't do it on the hard parts such as the frame or the drivetrain parts or anything else. So as I mix that up, you can see now we got a nice consistency of spray material that we can use to spray this paint on. So I'll go ahead and take my paint, and you always want to use a strainer when using your spray gun. I don't care what kind of paint you're using or what you're using. Always use a strainer, whether it's clear, lacquer thinner, whatever. All it takes is a little piece of trash to get in there and it can ruin everything. Go ahead and strain that out, get it ready. And now we're ready to go in and spray the parts that we need to spray. All right, we got our paint booth turned on, we got our paint mixed. Let's get some spray done. One more thing I want to mention is always wear your safety protection when you're spraying something. Now when you're brushing it on, you know, you're okay, but whenever you spray anything, you should always wear a good high quality spray mask like my friend Pete's doing. while our first coat's drying, what I'll do is on this little piece right here, I'm going to go ahead and brush that on. I didn't have enough hangers in my paint booth, so what we'll do is we'll take our non-reduced paint, and then we'll just go ahead and brush paint this. And I think it'll come out really, really nice when we're done. And then we'll go ahead and let this dry, and then we'll go ahead and put one more coat on it when we're done, and then that'll have 2 coats of our Rustoleum industrial black paint on it that will match the parts that we have inside the booth. So let me go ahead and wrap this job up. We'll get the other coat of paint over here, we'll get this coat of paint over there, we'll let it dry. One thing about the Rustoleum, it does take a while for it to dry. It doesn't dry in 10 minutes, it doesn't dry in an hour. With me working on it, it takes approximately 12 hours to thoroughly dry 100%. So when we get that dry, we're going to come back, we're going to look at it and see what we got by using our Rustoleum. I don't want to touch that one, it's got paint on. Rustoleum High Performance Protective Enamel as a spray paint to paint parts that we need for our classic car or truck that you might be restoring. We just got done painting this now. This is about 3 hours later, and you can see the high quality finish that we got by applying 2 full wet coats of the Rustoleum industrial enamel onto our core support. Now once again, this is the semi-gloss. Alright, this is the semi-gloss Rustoleum brand, and I think it came out really, really nice. And it looks awesome. Many years of wear and tear ready to be put on this, and it probably looks better and is treated better than brand new. And then if we look at this piece right here, this was brushed. This is brushed on. This was that little piece that I brushed on, and you can kind of see the difference in the texture. So spraying it on really does make it a whole bunch different. One thing I want to stress real close here, this is the gun that I used. I use this on pretty much everything I paint. Binks number 7, I have several more up here for backup units. One thing I want to stress is when you're using your Rustoleum as a sprayable compound, you can only use acetone to dilute it with. That's it, nothing else. Now, to clean this out, to clean your spray gun, acetone will not clean that spray gun. You have to use mineral spirits, and then once mineral spirits has cleaned it out, then you go to your lacquer thinner, and then you thoroughly clean it out inside, making sure that everything is out of the gun and cleaned properly, because this is a different type of paint that we're using here. This is not automotive paint, such you might say. It's all over, all around paint, and from not being the automotive paint, the chemicals used in this paint are totally different. So always remember, if you want to spray that, acetone is your reducer to reduce it down, and then to clean it out, you want to take your acetone, clean it out real thorough. No, you don't want to take acetone, you want to use mineral spirits, and then go into your lacquer thinner, paint thinner, to clean it out thoroughly. Or you can just go buy yourself a cheap spray gun, and when you're done, throw it away. So this is Pete, my friend Pete, your friend Pete, giving you ideas of how to save money. 1 quart of this was $9. I went ahead and bought 2 quarts because I got to paint some other stuff with it, and we'll probably go ahead and use it. This one here is already pre-mixed, One thing about mixing this, it doesn't go bad and it'll always stay good. So we'll use this first and then we'll go to this if we need to. And for $9 a quart, you got what, $1.85 for a quart of acetone. You see the finish that we had. It's a beautiful finish and it's a finish that's gonna last forever. The real situation is that if you're watching these videos and you are taking my advice and doing it the way that I am showing you how to do it, then you are doing it right. Because if you're not doing it right, you ain't doing it at all.
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.